Hello again, all. Today I'm bringing you, finally, my review for War for Cybertron Siege Leader Class Ultra Magnus. It's Siege number 13. For anyone keeping track, it's been quite a bit since my last video where I teased this review. I do apologize for that. There's some personal stuff happened and got sick for a while. But I'm feeling better now, so it's time to get back to the grind. Find myself behind on reviews again, so here we are playing catch up yet again. But I got some good stuff coming down the pike. I'll be recording these reviews in kind of rapid fire, so they should all be popping up over the next few days. Anyway, let's focus on the task at hand before I completely ADD out of this thing. This Ultra Magnus is a figure that I was just dying to get my hands on. I was really thrilled when I finally did. It's the first Ultra Magnus toy since the very original to utilize the gimmick of a white Optimus-like cab robot combining with his trailer parts to form the Ultra Magnus that we know and love today. So if you're used to my reviews, you know how this goes. We're gonna take a look at the box real quick, check out the instructions, and then break down the figure itself and all its modes, give thoughts on it, and let you decide for yourself if it's worth the purchase. And we'll delve into the economics of these new leader class toys a little bit too. All right, Magnus's box is your typical leader size box for the Generations line. Got all your logos, Siege, his name with his number there. You got this nice artwork of Ultra Magnus in his super robot mode. Looks like he's leading a charge into battle, which is appropriate. Good old city commander. Your general Siege artwork. And then on the back, we have the showcase of his two vehicle modes, as well as his small robot mode and his super mode. A little bit of an advert for Shockwave there, who I'll be reviewing next. Oh yeah, something I wanted to gripe about. Whoever opened the case that this was in just utterly mauled the top of this box with their box cutter, so don't appreciate that. But luckily, I don't keep the boxes usually, so not a big deal. Magnus has this nice big instruction booklet with very clear, easy to read print on it in black, white, and the good old Autobot red. Right here we have the instructions all laid out. See, they're very big. Shows vehicle mode conversion. Shows off his different weapons. You can see his main gun there, which is modeled off of his original, is called the stethoscopic detector. Doesn't sound much like a weapon, does it? For here, his little shoulder rocket launchers, the WHV 1000 Simulacrum Blaster, much fancier. And then his leg guns, which we will definitely be talking about, called the C30 Magnetic Inducer Launcher. So that's pretty cool. And, you know, this is the default configuration, but they can be attached to them in a variety of different ways. Shows his cross-compatibility with smaller Siege figures. And just more generic instructions on this front side here. Alright, now we have Ultra Magnus's main vehicle mode. And if you don't already know, it's not based off of his Generation 1 vehicle mode. It's actually based off of that of the 2001 Robots in Disguise Ultra Magnus, also known as Car Robots God Magnus in Japan. So while they are both car carriers of some kind, they have radically different designs. You may or may not like that fact, you know, based on if you were looking for like a more faithful G1 Ultra Magnus. Personally, I think it's a really cool mix-up of the two, and I think this vehicle mode is just more aesthetically pleasing than the original one. The original was just kind of very open, very hollow looking. Alright, you can see he's got quite a bit of an arsenal attached to him here. You have these large guns, which form the leg guns. You have his standard rocket launchers, his main hand cannon there. This is the default configuration per like the instructions and the stock photography and all that. Sometimes you'll see these guns raised up, so they can be used to, you know, actually fire things. Of course, it kind of creates this weirdness because now they're blocking the missile launchers in the back. So it's up to you if you want to keep it like this. Some people might want to go this route and attach the rocket launchers more toward the front. Not only does this give you the required clearance to where all these weapons can now shoot without, you know, hitting each other, but a little more accurate to the old G1 vehicle mode where his little rocket launchers were toward the front of the trailer there. It's up to you how you want to do it. Yeah, this is a pretty hefty vehicle mode. Quite long. You can see a lot of the inner workings there, pretty hollow. You can unfortunately see the super mode head very clearly. It just kind of hangs down there, which is sad. This toy isn't scaled to hold any of like the deluxe size cars or anything, but it is good for holding like your Micromasters and stuff. One thing I don't like about this is these are the feet, pretty obviously, and they're molded with this really sharp ankle tilt, which is weird because there is actual functioning hinges for ankle tilt on this thing, so I don't know why they like pre-molded them so diagonally. I mean, it makes the vehicle mode look really weird. You know, this would look better if these were more flat, and then you could just use the functional tilt to, you know, get what you want out of it. So don't know why they chose that. You can see like the battle damage here. It's like as if the paint was scraped off. It's got some on the front here too. It's pretty nice looking, huh? Like the translucent plastic over solid plastic, just like they did on Optimus Prime. Even his grill is translucent, kind of lending to his more alien Cybertronian look. Overall, this is pretty solid looking. It's got, 5 sets of wheels on it. Good weapon placement. Rolls well. Unfortunately, I don't have the Robots in Disguise version to compare this to. I mean, I own it, but it's storage and not easily accessible right now, so gonna have to go without that one. Sorry, guys. Alright, let's do the next step in this. Alright, the next thing you want to see is just the cab by itself. So you want to separate the trailer here. You do that. Unplug it up here, which doesn't plug in very firmly anyway there. But especially want to remove it for these clips against the legs, like that. So you're just kind of opening these flaps up. You know, use some smart placement of force, just so you're not putting undue stress on this plastic. It's mildly attached up here, so you want to push it away, and also there at the feet. So there you go. You just do away with the whole trailer. You can go off and do its own thing. And this is what you're left with. This is the cab, and by far the weakest part of this toy. Like from the front it looks fine, till you get back here, and oh look, just big old forearms and fists just sticking out of the back. Feet aren't like really folded up much, they're hanging out there. It's very obvious that this is a folded up robot. And that's a shame, because it's an otherwise pretty great figure, but this is really unsightly. So, you know, in the name of combining one design with another, they had to make some concessions, I guess. It's too bad these fists can't like fold up and hide away or something, but oh well. Right now we're going to transform the cab to his Optimus-like robot mode. So, first thing you're doing is you're going to separate the legs a little bit, swing them down. They're on a shared ratchet. It's really interesting. The hips there. Flip his heels out so you can stand nice and flat. It's got ankle tilt here, which is good. And you want to swing the arms out. Like so. Kind of stretch him out. Flip his fist in a more natural position there. Now you don't want to close these all the way yet. You want to turn him 180 at the waist. Like that. And then before you peg these in, you actually want to pull this front bit down. And it takes a little bit of force. Plugs in there pretty tightly. There you go. Okay, there's his head in there. You just flip it out. Is it inside? There's that like silver plastic underneath the clear. Yeah, flip the head out and then pop it back in. Now you can peg his shoulders in like that. Alright, now you come around here. This is interesting. This bit slides up on like a rail. You have to make sure that his like torso area here is lined up perfectly. So when you pull this up, it just goes up, doesn't get caught or anything. And then Lastly here, you're pushing his upper torso back. Now it's like kind of popped into place here. So you push it, and you push it this way until it just clicks all the way in. And there you go. This is his inner robot mode. Looks like a white version of Optimus Prime, just like the original one. It's even got the sky blue mouth plate like the original toy. He's got a really nice amount of articulation to him. Head is on a ball joint, which is nice. Hinge and swivel combo for the shoulders. Bicep swivel, hinged elbow, swivel on the wrists. Full 360 swivel at his waist. Hinge and swivel for the hips here. And they are ratcheted too. No thigh swivel or anything, but it does have hinged knees. Feet, they don't really go forward and back, but they do, you know, side to side. So overall, pretty good. Could have a little more articulation, but yeah, in my mind, adequate. Now he can wield any of his weapons, but the default one is just his typical handgun, which I think he looks really nice holding. So there's that. This bit does form a bit of a backpack, but I think it looks just fine. I know some people complained about it. I think it's okay. And it serves the function of allowing him to combine with the whole weaponizer gimmick because it has a nice little 5mm hole right there in the center. So very cool overall. It's actually interesting. The Voyagers have 2 holes on their back. The Leaders only have 1. Strange, right? But yeah, he looks really nice. He's not a direct copy of the Voyager Prime. In fact, here is the Voyager Prime for comparison. You can see they're quite different looking. Like, they both hit the main notes of an Optimus Prime robot. You know, most of the main details are the same, but the proportions and the specific details are quite different between them. This guy is much stockier looking, you know, more hardy looking, whereas this Optimus is definitely designed to be more athletic looking, just like his cartoon model. But they do complement each other very well. They're about the same height. This robot's very slightly smaller than this one, but it's barely noticeable. So they scale very well together. It's kind of perfect. And I guess that kind of leads me into talking about this guy's retool that's coming. That's pretty old news by now since I was so late getting this review out, but for anyone that doesn't know, Ultra Magnus is being retooled into another version of Optimus Prime in the next wave of Leader class toys. It's going to be a really heavy retool. The inner robot won't be too terribly different. Mainly he is going to have a slightly altered head. It's not going to be exactly like this one. It'll look more like the animation model head. And this front cab or chest area is going to be redone to better resemble the Transformer Cybertron Optimus Prime, also known as a Galaxy Force Convoy in Japan. So it'll look more like the cab front for his vehicle mode. The reason for that being, the overall vehicle is going to be that vehicle mode. It's going to be that like weird alien-looking fire truck mode. So the inner robot, for the most part, will resemble this guy and, you know, G1 Optimus Prime, but the vehicle mode, like the full vehicle mode and the armored up mode, the super mode, are going to look just like Galaxy Force Convoy or Cybertron Optimus. In fact, very little of the trailer section or, you know, armor parts are going to be shared between them. It's going to be almost completely different to achieve this look. So I'll get that review out when it comes around, but I've seen the pictures. It looks really cool. Can't wait to get one of those too. All right, now we're going to begin the transformation of the super robot mode. And the main part doesn't change too much. Let's go ahead, remove the weapon just to get it out of the way, though you technically don't really need to remove it. All right, so first things we want to do, we want to tuck his head back in. So we're going to go ahead, pop his torso forward again, clicks, open up those shoulder panels, and tuck that head away, because that's not used for this other robot mode. Reconnect, and we actually want to slide this part down so it's not staying up, and pop this back like that. Now this is pretty cool. His little crotch piece thing here, it flips down and around, back back in, becomes the more recognizable blue piece for the big Ultra Magnus robot. And then the last thing you do for the cab is you just flip his heels in like that. All right, now we need to disassemble the trailer into his armor. So go ahead, remove all of his weapons. All right, these bits on the side, they peel back even further. They just pop them off like that. These parts here come off, and then separate the feet, which enable you to move this bit, and then these parts pop off as well. Alright, so this bit is pretty obvious, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to fold this panel in like that, fold that up, and then like head and shoulders. Become shampoo. Alright, these are going to form the forearm armor. Separate these. They're going to make his shoulder armor. And lastly, the boots. And it's pretty cool how these work. Just kind of folding up like this. Come around. This part really reminds me of RID Magnus. So the side kibble on the legs there. But yeah, that's that. Same thing here. Make sure it pegs in securely. Alright, cool. So first, let's attach the boots. Just use this little clasp thing here to plug in. I don't really hear a click. Just push it all the way until it can't go anymore. So there's that. Forearm armor. Plugs onto his forearms from the outside. You want the gray worn bit on the inside. So push it all the way on and you close it. Now in my copy, this doesn't like to stay tabbed in. The tab's a little too big for the hole. Now if I kind of squeeze it, hold it there long enough, it'll stay like that, but it is annoying. Alright, do the same thing over here. That one stays in a lot better. Now the shoulders are kind of a pain. So let's see, let's do this one first. Basically they slide on from this direction. Slide them on there as far as they'll go until you're kind of stopped against this peg here. And now this clasp part you have to bring up, and it has to line up perfectly to where this hole in the clasp goes over that securely, and then this bit goes over the big peg. Now I have to fiddle with it a little bit just to get it to line up. See, it likes to do that too, just to pop off. So just be mindful of that. I had to jump cut that a bit because that's how much I just struggle to get this thing on. It's not fun. It doesn't like to go on there. It's a very tight squeeze. So let's do this. Again, I don't know if it's something with the tolerances of my copy or if it's a universal struggle to get those shoulder bits on, but be warned, could be fighting with this for a bit. But all right, anyway, here you go. Looks good. And the last bit of his armor. Just actually plug it into the back first. These clips go on that little rod there. So push them on securely. Push this down until it locks in to the top of the shoulders. And push that till it tabs into the chest. And boom. That is the robot mode. Now you want to attach his accessories. I'm going to go with the default placement. Rocket launchers on the shoulders, as they should be. And then these actually connect to his legs over here. And if this doesn't look familiar yet, you never watched Transformers Cybertron. Alright, and then naturally, give him his gun again. And like I said earlier, you don't actually have to detach his gun to attach his forearm armor, but I want to do it so you can see a little better. And there he is, the new and improved Ultra Magnus. He retains all of his previous posability, even with all this armor, it doesn't really hold him down. The biggest difference is the aforementioned pre-molded ankle tilt. See, it does have ankle tilt, right? So I don't know why they molded them to be in this position that's so far apart, because he's stuck permanently in this very wide stance. You can't get his legs any closer together without him kind of standing on the sides of his feet. I don't know why they did that. It doesn't seem to create any kind of clearance issue. They had done it the other way, but I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. It seems like an odd design choice and does hurt the toy's overall posability because he's always going to be standing very wide. He's got a lot of sculpted detail, which you may or may not be a fan of. I know a lot of people complain about the greediness of the Siege figures. I think it's cool. It gives him a nice, realistic mecha design to him. He's got some damage on his chest there. More paint scraping effect. New head's on a ball joint, just like the other head. Uses the more classic, normal size eyes from the original toy, rather than like the big goggle eyes that his animation model uses. Now, people that know the original toy, they know that, you know, the cab combined with the trailer, but it was very different, where the cab basically just folded up into a box, and then the trailer became the new body, and the cab just kind of plugged into the top there. And I mean, it worked, but it made for kind of a oddly proportioned, very unarticulated super mode. So this new kind of armor up take on it, where the trailer breaks down and just kind of attaches to him in different pieces, very Iron Man 3 style. You know? I think it works to better effect. And to me, it's crazy that they were able to make a toy that has a vehicle mode that looks like God Magnus, and give him a robot mode that looks exactly like G1 Magnus. I mean, I think they did a brilliant job with that, and I really love this thing. It's got his little butt flap thing, which seems to be a common occurrence with Magnus toys. The Masterpiece has a little butt flap too, but this is much less egregious looking, I think. It doesn't hang down quite as low in comparison. He still has a 5mm hole to attach weaponizers. You know, it's got holes in all the other places you would expect. I mentioned the leg guns. These guns will be included in that Galaxy Convoy retooling that they're going to have, and they attach to the same place because that's where they attach a Galaxy Convoy in a super mode, and they would, you know, point up when he was doing his big old blast attack. So that's neat. A little bit of a crossover. You can keep him there if you want to. He can dual wield them. You know, there's a whole bunch of different ways he can rock these. Here he is with Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, another leader class toy from a few years ago. See, there's a huge size difference between them. The new Magnus is significantly shorter, and that ties into the economics that I mentioned earlier. Siege toys are more expensive. They're more expensive than, you know, any previous iteration of Generations, and by and large, they're smaller. Now, the official reasoning for that is because they're going off of the Generation 1 cartoon scale charts, so they try to make the robots scale to each other as perfectly as possible, as they did in the cartoon, which is why we're getting a massive Jetfire / Skyfire later in the year. He's got his own size class because that's much bigger he is than the other leaders. So which of these you prefer is obviously a matter of personal taste. The Combiner Wars Magnus has a more traditional vehicle mode that matches up better to the original G1 toy, but his robot mode is much more stylized. It's actually designed after the IDW Ultra Magnus, with a much more kind of aerodynamic, stylized look to him. He doesn't have an inner cab robot. Instead, he has a little tiny robot named Minimus Ambus that hides within the cab, just like IDW Magnus did. I feel this guy has a more solid feeling robot mode than him. He's a little, I don't know, flimsy feeling, and I think his weapons are garbage too, but yeah, that's me. So overall, I do prefer the new Magnus to this one, even if he is smaller and more expensive. One more quick comparison, we have him here with Masterpiece Ultra Magnus. You can see their overall designs are very similar. You can tell this is supposed to be the same character. You know, the specifics vary between them. This Magnus was made very much with the cartoon model in mind, which is why it has less surface detail, you know, it's more boxy looking, fewer colors in the color palette, which is fine if that's what you're going for. You know, he is very cool looking for what he is. Their colors match up very well. His reds and blues are slightly darker. Whites are, even the white's a little bit darker. But overall, you can tell they were really trying to evoke this version of Magnus, you know, the animation Magnus. And they did this guy. This dude being a masterpiece obviously has, you know, more articulation and higher quality parts and all that. He does, however, lack the inner robot mode that this one has. His cab just kind of turns inside out and becomes his chest. So for the toy purists that want, you know, something a little more similar in function to the original toy, I would definitely go with Siege Magnus. Plus, you know, he's like significantly cheaper. But neither one of these makes the other one feel obsolete. They both do their own thing. If you want a very cartoon accurate Ultra Magnus toy, cool. This one's got you covered if you can afford them. Or if you want something that's, you know, a little newer, it's got more surface detail, more true to the original toy, you've got this guy. When I say true to the original toy, I don't mean the vehicle mode aesthetic. That's obviously way out there. But yeah, I wouldn't say one of these is better or worse than the other. They're just each doing their own thing. But it is cool to see how well they emulated the original design in this guy's robot mode. And then one last comparison, just going to have him stand next to Siege Optimus again, just so you can see how well they scale. And they do scale very well. If you look at the two characters' animation models, their height difference is really on point here. So these guys look good. You know, he does a good job of presenting the image of an Optimus type figure that gets a bit of an armor power up. And that really completes our look at Ultra Magnus. This for me was one of the most anticipated toys from the first wave of Siege. I've always wanted a Magnus that actually combined with his trailer, and you know, they really hit the nail on the head there. I think there's a cool touch that they made his vehicle mode so radically different, and it called back to a different Magnus from a non-G1 setting, because a lot of people complain that the current design team is too hyper-focused on G1, so it's a good way to kind of throw some references to some other continuities in there. People that really wanted a hyper-accurate G1 Magnus will be disappointed by that. But I really like this guy. I love how solid he is. My only gripe with this toy, aside from maybe the price, but the design itself, is again that permanent ankle tilt they have going on. It's too wide. I mean, even a little bit of permanent ankle tilt would have been fine, but it's not a natural way to stand at all. But I can get over that. You know, he still has a really good amount of posability. Comes with some extra weapons that you wouldn't expect, which are, you know, again, just carryovers from the Galaxy Prime. But it can't hurt, right? Like, oh no, more accessories, how terrible. And the fact that, you know, you can move them around to your liking makes him very customizable. He's fully compatible with Battle Masters, Micromasters, Weaponizers, so, you know, fits the play pattern very well. And I really highly recommend this toy. He is $50, but between the two leaders that have been released so far, I feel like he's more worth the price. Just much more solid feeling. You know, he sacrifices height for a lot of paint detail, sculpted detail, so that you see where the budget kind of went elsewhere there. And he's got a really high parts count too. So, you know, it's a whole discussion whether it's worth the price tag. You know, whether the pros outweigh the cons and justify the $5 price hike from the last toy line. But I would say if the price doesn't scare you off, you have the $50 to spare, this is going to be the best Magnus you get, at least outside of like Masterpiece. So I would definitely pick them up. Now, if you enjoyed this review, go ahead and toss the video a like. I definitely appreciate that. If you want to see more reviews like it or any of my other Transformers related content, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post something new, which is admittedly irregular. You'll get a whole lot of something and then a lot of nothing. But I'm always working to improve that and, you know, work with life situations to have a better schedule. But anyway, with all of that said, I will see you all next time.